Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for September 7th through 13th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 1 show, I watched 1 movie, and I listened to 2 books. First this week we have Amelia, If Only. This one stars a bisexual with a group of mostly queer friends. And ever since his coming out video, she's been absolutely obsessed with this one particular YouTuber. It not only helps that they're both bisexual, but they're both Jewish, they're both from the same state, they seem very similar, and he just seems like a geeky fun time. However, she doesn't really have a crush on him so much as has like a platonic crush on him. A squish, if you will. However, that's not really how her friends see it, and one thing leads to another, and she ends up putting up a post on Instagram or possibly TikTok, one or the other, basically being like, hey Walter, come to prom with me, and I think there was singing involved. We don't actually get to see the creation of this video, we just know what happened. The day after prom, it turns out that one of her best friends was broken up with at prom by her terrible girlfriend, so they're like, let's get her out of this situation, because they tend to like break up and then Claire kind of drags her back in, so she's like, let's get her away from this situation. And it turns out that Walter is doing a meet and greet about 5 hours away, and it turns out that their other friend is going in that direction anyway to visit her girlfriend, so like, let's make a road trip out of it. So they do, and it's a chaotic, fun, dumbassing too close to the sun type of trip. And dumbassing too close to the sun is definitely something I stole from this book. I've used it in conversations since reading this. I really enjoyed seeing this group of teens with all of their own in-jokes and people just not completely understanding what's going on at the moment, but the reader being like, oh, come on, you're gonna figure out eventually, right? It was a very fun time. It definitely references other books by young adult authors who are currently writing, which was very fun to see. And there were several parts where it was showing different comments in social media and different transcripts and that types of thing. And one of the parts where it was showing social media, I was like, oh, those are the ats of people I literally know. Like, I haven't met those people in person because we don't live in the same place, but we've definitely interacted on the internet before. And I know one of them in particular is now friends with Becky, so that totally makes sense, but it was really fun to see. This also takes place in the same universe as a previous book, so you kind of get to see some of those characters in the background every once in a while, which is just lovely. Next we have Something to Talk About. This is about 2 women. One of them is the head of her own production company. She directs and writes a show, whereas the other one is her assistant. One day out of the blue, the boss is like, hey assistant, can you come to the SAG Awards with me because I want you to deflect people from asking me questions about this upcoming project that I don't want them asking me questions about. And she's like, I guess sure. And her boss like buys her a beautiful gown and takes her with her, which is mostly notable because her boss has never taken any form of date, even though this isn't a date, to any form of awards in the last like 30 years she's been in the industry. And the tabloids end up figuring that they must be dating, which is not a good look because it looks like the assistant is just like sleeping her way to the top of the industry. It's not great because people in both of their lives are constantly going, oh, how's it going with that girlfriend of yours? And they're both just like, we're not girlfriends, stop saying that. We don't want those rumors to continue. And the thing is, no, they're not girlfriends, but do they have an attraction to each other? Maybe a little bit? Yeah, they do. This is an incredibly slow burn romance with a couple of twists and turns, a lot of like emotional baggage that people have to get through, and a lot of side characters that you can't help but laugh with. I very much enjoyed seeing how these characters sorted things out. As for the show I watched, if you've been here in the past like 3 months, you know what it was. It was Silent Witness, and I have finished everything that's available on BritBox, which means I've finished up until the end of series 27, which definitely ends in a way that I saw coming, but it was very nice to see it when it happened. I was on IMDb the other day trying to figure out who this particular actor was, and it turned out he was that guy from The Mummy. But while I was there, I saw not only has the 28th season concluded, I think they're either filming or they're in the process of filming or something the 29th. I didn't actually look into the episodes whatsoever because I'm trying not to spoil myself for when I come back to this. But there's definitely more episodes, I just have to wait until they're available on my streaming platform of choice. However, this also means now I need to figure out something else to watch on BritBox, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know about them. I will of course also double back to see if there's any new episodes of Shetland. There definitely won't be any new episodes of Vera or Luther because those are done. I don't know if there'll be more episodes of The Cleaner. I would love that if there was a new season of that, but I don't know if that would have happened so quickly. Then of course there are many different shows that I haven't already watched on the platform, so please again put your recommendations down below. As for the movie I watched this week, we tried to open the triple October vibes with a bang, especially because my partner's away and he doesn't really like the really scary movies, so we tried to watch a really scary movie. We actually had a running list of Triple October movies and then kind of the scarier ones off to the side for times when Chad's not here. Unfortunately, that list died when my roommate's phone decided to die, so we just had to pick something on the fly, and that was Midsommar. This is one of those movies that's just creepy and unsettling because the pace is so very slow. And I knew where it was going before the characters even got to Sweden, and yet that's where it was going. Sorry I slowed down so much like that, but that's exactly what the pace of this movie feels like. That's exactly why this movie is 2.5 hours. So this movie starts out with a girl named Danny, and she's really concerned because she got a concerning message from her sister, and she calls her boyfriend to be like, hey, I can't get in contact with my sister, and that's really upsetting to me. And he's kind of like, yeah, but she's always doing stuff like this, so it's probably fine. We see it kind of in a cutscene when that phone conversation ends. He's with his friends, and they're like, why haven't you dumped her yet? You've been wanting to dump her for like a year. Just do it already. Unfortunately, her worries were pretty warranted because not only is her sister gone, she took her parents with them, so she is now completely without family. Then we flash forward like 6 months, and obviously he hasn't broken up with her because that would be a monstrous thing to do at that exact moment in time, so they're still together. It's still not the healthiest relationship, and him and his university buddies are going on this trip, and he ends up feeling like he has to include her in this trip. There's one Swedish guy in their group, and he kind of grew up with these people, and they're going to this festival. Some of the students are there definitely because they want to do their thesis in and around this situation, and some things go in directions that you're just like, oh, that's... no. I would want to leave this situation, but you can't because you're in the middle of the forest in Sweden. It's one of those ones that's incredibly unsettling. You see some things coming and then you don't see other things coming, and then you also have so many questions by the end of it. So yeah, if you've seen this one, let me know your thoughts down below because I have so many questions. As for the books I listened to this week, the first one is The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is a very short audiobook. It was about 5 hours long. And it's written in such a way where he's writing to his students because he was supposed to write an essay for his students and then never ended up actually doing that, so he's kind of making up for it in this way. This talks about a lot of different things. It talks about his travels to certain places such as Palestine. It talks about how he was when he was a student, especially because he was undiagnosed with his ADHD at the time. And this definitely talks about systems of oppression and writing, especially when you are part of a marginalized community. And ultimately there was nothing really wrong with this. He made some really good points along the way. The writing was really fluid and enjoyable to listen to. The audiobook is read by the author, which is something I always really enjoy. But I think it's one of those concepts that's just disjointed enough that I can't really remember too much more about it than that. It was well written. I enjoyed my time with it when I had my time with it, and there are definitely some parts I do remember from it, but I don't know how much of a lasting impact it's going to have. If I come back to this in a year and go, The Message, what was that again? For example, I'd love to be able to tell you exactly what the message of The Message was, and I think it has to do with systems of power and who has the power to tell you what's going on and whether or not they're lying and that type of thing, but I'm not 100% certain. The other book I listened to this week is How to Sell a Haunted House. This is about a woman named Louise. She hasn't seen her family in a little while because she doesn't live in the same state as them, and she has a young daughter to look after and an ex she has to deal with on a semi-regular basis. She especially doesn't get along with her brother because he was kind of the spoiled one growing up. She did everything right. She really studied and worked hard, and he just kind of had things handed to him because he was definitely his mom's favorite because they both really liked theater, and he would get away with these ridiculous things like freaking her out around the house, property damage, and deciding that he wants to go to a really expensive school only to drop out even though his parents paid for it and she didn't get her school paid for. So there's definitely been a grudge there. So when he calls her one day and is kind of dancing around this information, just being like, Mom and Dad are gone, she's like, what are you talking about? I talked to them on Tuesday, they're fine, where'd they go? From there you can probably figure out they're going to have to try to figure out how to sell their parents' house, and it definitely has some creepy qualities. I don't want to tell you too much more than that because there were some twists and turns in this that I really enjoyed. There were some perspective turns that happened that really gave interesting context to what was going on. There's also a massive tangent to do with theater things that I really enjoyed because I'm a theater kid, but also it gave so much context to what was going on in the story. This really had a lot to do with the messiness and chaotic nature of families and the things that happen in the family's past that are affecting the family's current situation. And it was really fun to have all of that unfold because all of the pieces were there, but at the same time you're trying not to be too scared of what's happening just out of your eye line. I very much enjoyed this one. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!